Okay. Christy is not going to be able to join us tonight, so I'll be stepping in. I'd like to call our meeting to order. We'll go through a quick roll call. Tim, here. Stephanie,
here.
Steve,
here.
Swan,
here.
Nick's present. Do we have any commissioners on calling remotely?
None that I see.
Do we have six? We have five, so we have a quorum.
We
Okay.
do. 4 is for a quorum. I believe Mazan will just be a couple minutes late today. Brian and Christy both let me know they would not be here. Graduation. So
That's right.
Good reason not to be here.
All right, I'll go through our land acknowledgement. We acknowledge that we are in the indigenous lands of the Coast Salish peoples who have reserved treaty rights to this land, specifically the Snoqualmie Indian tribe. We thank these caretakers of this land who have lived and continue to live here since time immemorial. Okay, we need to approve last month's, actually, we need to go through the agenda for tonight. I do have a motion. Does anyone else have a motion to add any agenda items for tonight? No, okay. I move that Rose and I had a pre-meeting discussion, and we want to move the sustainability ambassadors discussion ahead of our discussion on the sustainability guide, just to allow enough time to get through the guide and make sure we cover all our agenda topics.
Second.
Okay, thank you. All in favor of adjusting the agenda accordingly, say aye.
Aye.
Okay. Anyone's opposed? All right, motion passes. Last meeting's minutes. Can I have a motion to approve last month's meeting minutes?
I move we approve the meeting minutes from last meeting.
Second. Okay, all in favor of approving, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed or abstaining? Oh, okay. The meeting minutes pass. Rich, do we have any public comment?
There's you.
moment.
We do?
I need to leave computer audio as well. There we go. Sorry,
Nope.
folks.
That's it.
No?
Nobody else.
Okay. Good. So I'll just do an overview of the agenda tonight, and then we'll jump right into it. So we've got a pretty sporty agenda. Like we said, we're going to move the sustainability ambassadors discussion up front. A question I had for Rose that we'll discuss tonight is, as the city is considering renewing the contract for the sustainability ambassadors, do we feel like the scope of work and or the projects the ambassadors are doing, do those align with things where we might need help or assistance on the climate action plan goals for this year? So we can talk about that, make sure that we see value in having the ambassadors as part of our commission supporting us, right? Anything else you wanted to add to that? Okay. And then we'll get into the sustainable, the sustainability guide. So hopefully everybody had a chance to review it. I had a technology issue. I did not load any of the Microsoft Office software onto my tablet, so I wasn't able to initially open up the file in Word and resave it. Did anyone else have any other technology problems?
I got it working.
Okay.
I have also not done that, but
Okay.
One of the things I do, Nick, is I don't like, as I said before, I don't like work on it. I'll work on it on my PC. I can download it from the city website from my PC.
Okay.
Because this agenda will be there, and you can get everything, and then I can work on it within Word, and then send it.
Okay.
Do track changes and send it back in.
And that's the process Rose wants us to use. Him is on.
Yeah.
So we'll go through the guide tonight. I know Swan submitted some comments. I had some verbal ones with Rose in our meeting. But the plan is that as you review the guide, which we need to do, and we'll review the timeline, we have a few weeks to save a file with our initials for the file name, and then email it back to Rose. We're not going to save it on a server or city folder. To just,
You're welcome to save it on a city server or folder if you so choose. There is the ability to save it to OneDrive, which is associated with your sammamish.us emails. But just for public records keeping purposes and for my own organization, it's helpful if you email like Swan did, which was a great example, email the file back to me just so that I have each of your feedback and then I can integrate that into the final guide.
All right, and then we are going to go into the staff reports. And we've got some interesting things to go through. I won't steal any of your thunder because it kind of played into conversations we had earlier about the use of AI. So Rose will elaborate on that. And then we'll take a look at the calendar. I believe our support of the 4th of July is off the table. Is that correct?
That's
We're
correct.
not going to have a booth.
We're not gonna do that, okay.
But Rose is looking for us to help support the Sammamish Farmers Market. And then there is a Kalahani event as well. So we'll look at that when we go through the calendar. Anybody have any questions before we start talking about sustainability ambassadors? Nope. All right, Rose, to you.
All right. Thank you, Nick. So at our last meeting, the commission took this decision and gave direction on a couple different items. And I just wanted to follow up on the sustainability ambassadors scope of work. And the commission chose to move forward with that contract for the next year. I had a brief meeting with Peter just to level set. We are lowering the contract amount just a little bit to the 20,000. Before it was just under 25,000. Just given that we had extended, there were a couple extra events that they did for us this year that we can wrap in as we finished up our first year with them. So we really just cleaned up the scope of work, made it a little bit more concise. Last year, it read a lot like kind of a menu of options that they ticked off. And this year, we're trying to keep it a little bit more targeted, highlighting some key events throughout the year related to each of the sections. So if you don't mind promoting me to a panelist, I can just briefly share my screen. Perfect. Thank you, Rich. All right. Where did we go? There we go. Perfect. So this is really just an opportunity for a gut check with the commission, see if there's any glaring holes that we had previously talked about that you feel were not captured in this. And then I'll be meeting with Peter after the commission meeting tonight, once I have all of your feedback, and then we'll be refining this. And then we plan to execute the contract in August, so that Peter has time to work with some of those student interns leading up to the start of the school year in September. So this is a relatively quick turnaround. We're keeping it, like I mentioned, very similar to last year, just kind of cleaning it up a little bit and focusing on some of those areas. So
Before you get off this.
Yeah.
I've under deliverables, you've got CAP or the UFMP. What you're doing is that you're offering them a choice. They can even go with the climate plan or with the urban forest management plan.
yes.
And I know it's highly unlikely, but if all of a sudden all of them want to jump on the climate action plan, you're going to get nothing on the urban forest management plan. So you might want to, I don't know, somehow specify a distribution there that you'd like to see.
That's a good idea.
Yeah, that's a great point. Thank you.
Something else Rose and I talked about, since this will kick off, it will align with the school year, so it's going to start around August or so. I had a suggestion that when the program winds down next spring, that Peter and or the students give us a progress update of what were all their accomplishments over the year and how did they help advance the city's climate action plan.
Similar to the presentation that they did a couple months ago.
Well, that was the overall program. I'm not sure how specific it was, because Rose has some detail in here about the aspects of the climate action plan that they're going to support. So what I thought would be interesting is they give us an update, and I'm particularly interested in like the metrics that the students collect, because we don't, we're not collecting that same sort of data. So whatever data they are collecting and how it affects our ability to advance the climate action plan, I think is interesting, and Rose and the city could use that data for the reporting as well.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Yeah, one thing that you'll see as we're going through this scope of work is we have actually called out, so program-wide initiatives, this is all very similar to what we saw last year, but we've actually called out this specific climate action plan actions
Yep.
under each section that the sustainability ambassador's scope of work aligns with. So they would be giving a similar presentation to last year, but really trying to focus it in on the connection between their scope of work and the climate action plan,
Okay.
and tying it into these specific actions. So just keeping it a little bit more focused, recognizing that there's a lot of work that sustainability ambassadors are doing just by the nature of their program. So what is the specific service that they're providing to Sammamish?
Okay, makes sense.
That's what we're trying to clarify a little bit this year. Yeah, so you'll see we've got a community energy conservation and GHG emissions reduction education program. It's a pretty broad goal and action, right? And so how that actually breaks down is into these campaigns that you might recognize from last year. And then some key international event dates that the schools leverage and certain ambassador students leverage in their impact projects. So pretty straightforward here, continuing.
Just a quick question. So Stephanie, since you're a graduate of this program, how do they measure the success of these campaigns?
Yeah, it definitely. So usually we do have like an impact document, and then each student usually does some calculations like on the amount of CO2 that they diverted or the amount of usually it's measured in CO2, but there are different metrics, and then that's usually the biggest way that they show impact. Sometimes it's also going to be like if they're doing like a carbon commute count, it's going to be the number of cars counted or number of people they engage with and something, but most of the time it's those CO2 calculations that we do.
Okay. And does that tie into metrics that you're maintaining?
So that's where it gets a little bit complicated. So if we're looking at a citywide level, if we take one student's impact project, that's great to understand the impact of individual actions, but it's hard to relate those actual numbers to our overall city count. So we definitely want to give credit where credit's due. But unless we had every student in the city doing that, it's hard to compare apples to apples, if that makes sense. But I think that's something that Sustainability Ambassadors has heard feedback from multiple cities on and is working to see how they can either extrapolate that data up or show it in more of a storytelling way of, hey, you know, we're working to reduce water consumption at an individual level. We want to see how that impacts greenhouse gas emissions. And then we could work with the Cascade Water Alliance to see has this changed over time as we've been engaging sustainability.
The terms are, you want the student to establish their boundary conditions.
Mm-hmm.
You know, they monitor people coming in and out of Skyline. That would be a boundary, or their initial conditions. That's the how the engineers approach the problem, rather than look at it globally or on a universe basis.
Yeah. Did that? Oh, go ahead.
So when we say Sammamish High School, any school is high school or middle school within the city of Sammamish.
Yes, these are high schools within Sammamish. So it could be the Lake Washington School District or the Issaquah School District, but they are within the Sammamish city limits.
Not to be confused with Sammamish High School.
Yeah. Exactly.
One more thing I would say is I know like in the impact project documents, they have to, I think, list the climate action plan goals that they're aligning with, but I think we could be a little bit better about like emphasizing those goals in our impact storytelling, like the videos that they produce or other materials. I think in any like storytelling that they do or communication that they do, emphasizing those outside of that document.
I think what I heard you say is do like a pitch for the climate action plan and how their project helped advance it.
Yeah,
Okay.
I definitely think the climate action plan and the UFMP could come up more in conversation and in the videos and other materials that we produce.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
I could see that looking like maybe an impact storytelling. So if we're going back to someone taking shorter showers, calculating how much water was saved, calculating how much CO2 emissions was saved from the water treatment and heating. And then they could do one step further and say, if this was my impact as an individual, if all 68,000 residents in Sammamish did this, this could be the impact. So that might be a good way to take it up to that level. It's not numbers we could necessarily use, for the climate action plan, but it's numbers that we could use for our communications, outreach, education, and inspiration for the residents.
And it's a fun stats project.
And as a fun science project.
So you're suggesting that on one day a month, 68,000 people don't take a shower?
No, you take a shorter shower.
Uh,
Or just do it in Issaquah. That's where my gym is.
Okay. Any other thoughts on the, yeah,
So looking through this, just I noticed there's a total of, I think it's 11 like presentation type things that are added as a part of the deliverables. There's 3 like club, classroom, or community presentations, and then the 2 town halls. I don't want to be too prescriptive about what those can look like, but it might be good to have a little bit more, especially for the club, classroom, or community presentations, what that is expected to entail, other than just they're talking about the campaigns. Not necessarily saying you have to be doing it in this way, but it might be good to have a little bit more, I guess, I don't know if it's necessarily a baseline or an expectation for what those would look like.
That's a good
Because
suggestion.
it could just be they go to a classroom and they talk about it, and that counts, and that's fantastic, and I think that would be fine. But it could, if we want to have more definition of what that could look like, that might be something to have a conversation about.
Yeah, it might, I don't know, because I know the ones where Peter's brought students to us and meeting, they're fantastic. And he does a lot of coaching and public speaking and presentations, messaging and all that. But does the Sustainable Ambassadors use that same philosophy on all of their meetings, or was that just geared towards the commission, or?
They use it for the town halls, but I don't know about other stuff outside of it.
I will say, like, even in the ambassador meetings, the public speaking and like coaching part of it is really apparent. It's like something Peter talks about really often.
No, he does a great job with it.
Yeah, he does a really.
So that was the main
consistency,
thought.
maybe, or
Just there doesn't necessarily need to be something prescriptive about what those look like, but I think just that might be a good conversation to have of what are the expectations for those meetings, for those presentations.
that's very true, because there's a different impact of Peter or an ambassador student going into a science classroom and talking to students versus doing it at a school assembly or a green team. So that's definitely a conversation I'll have with Peter as we're looking at this. And I think we could add a little bit more detail in there, or just knowing that that's kind of their best practice already. I do wonder, do you feel, Swan, that might be helpful to have specific numbers, like engaging at least 30 students, or?
I wouldn't say so, just because classroom sizes can vary quite a bit. Also, like I don't think so, because as long as they feel like it is a meaningful, I guess the main thing is as long as they feel like it is able to be meaningful outreach.
Yeah.
Like if it's like, I wouldn't count, like if they're doing something with like a sustainability club and they're just giving updates on what that stuff looks like, that's not the same sort of community like impact, like outreach impact, as talking to a full class of middle schoolers. And that's still good and important conversations to be having, but I think that's kind of where I'm thinking of where the expectations for the impact that this presentation has.
Yeah. Thank you for the feedback. This is great considerations. Okay, moving on from buildings and energy. I think some of these comments do apply to multiple sections.
That's across the line.
But one thing we really wanted to lean into was the carbon commute count. So that was kind of listed as a potential. You know, they'd see how it went, get some baseline data, and it was wildly successful. And while that's not unique to just Sammamish, that's something that's across the east side. Really leaning into the Sammamish schools and continuing to engage with those teachers and students to get that meaningful data we want to continue to support. So really highlighted that here. And then again, moving on with the community presentations, a couple different transportation campaigns that have been successful or that we want to continue to move forward. And then those event dates, so Bike Month and Bike Everywhere Day. And all of this does tie into their impact storytelling campaign. So it's not just completing the projects, it's also communicating about those projects, sharing about it on social media, using those projects to facilitate those community conversations and presentations.
Fred, what does ecosystem services mean? first.
Yeah. Ecosystem services are essentially the tangible and intangible benefits that our natural resources and natural environment bring to humans. So some examples of ecosystem services are, right, clean air, clean water, the actual resources that we eat and consume and use, mental health benefits of being in nature.
Okay.
So it's tangible and intangible. So cleaning the air, cleaning the water, and also improving health outcomes for individuals. Those are, it's an actual term. Ecosystem services are a defined.
No, that's your clarifying. I was thinking of
yeah.
providers, like companies that provide those types of services, but okay, that makes sense.
Yeah. I think that's one thing as we're looking through the climate action plan update. You know, the natural resource section of the climate action plan is light, and it was partially designed that way because we also have the supplemental urban forest management plan. But some of those terms or actions in there, I think, could be a little bit better defined or made more specific. Because it's one thing to educate the community on ecosystem services, but what does that really mean, right?
Yeah.
Like, I think that could be made more clear.
It feels a little buzzwordy.
So a lot of these climate action plan actions are kind of high level for a reason. And as we're getting into the implementation, splitting some of those out, you know, taking them out all together because it's kind of a given with the work that's being done. And we did combine natural systems and water resources in this scope of work. Previously, it was separate, and so we're really wanting them to tie all of that together, right? Because water is a natural resource. So,
Yeah, I think as you define the ecosystem, it's like our air, water, nature that we live in, the place we breathe in, the place we live in. So it will be, besides all the items that Rose mentioned, it will be also the balance of the wildlife, animals and things like that, insects and things like that, you know. So all these things contribute to the ecosystem.
Yep.
yeah.
Absolutely.
And you'll see we actually do refer to ecosystem services in the natural resource section of the 25-26 guide. To quote from the guide.
It's a very widely used term in the environmental.
It is very much so. It is a bit buzzwordy, but it's also really important to understand. So resources such as native species, along with bodies of water, soil, and open space, play an essential role in Sammamish. They provide numerous tangible, wow, I was almost exactly correct on the definition. Numerous tangible and intangible benefits called ecosystem services to residents, visitors, neighboring communities, and of course, wildlife. Improved air and water quality, energy savings, health and socioeconomic benefits. So it's the services that the natural environment provide to other aspects of the natural environment as well as to humans. So
Talking about water. Talking about water quality, do you guys know that what is our PFAS level in our city of Sammamish water?
I do. I read the report.
What is that?
Well, it depends on what the moving target is. So so Washington State has 6 PFAS chemicals, and the safe drinking water levels are all parts per trillion. Generally, if they follow the EPA, it's like 4 parts per trillion or so. Depends on which.
Are we above or below the EPA?
So the source of PFAS.
Sorry for that.
This is interesting tangent. So the Eastside Fire and Rescue Station that operated in Issaquah, and this is going back to like, you know, the 1960s and 70s. They did fire training with firefighting foam that contains these chemicals. So the Washington State Department of Ecology is overseeing and cleanup in Issaquah. Now, those contaminants have got into the lower Issaquah Valley aquifer, which Issaquah and Sammamish share. So the wells that did not meet drinking water standards were taken offline a few years ago. They were trying to blend the water to get down below the safe drinking levels, and then they took wells offline. And now we're in the process. The Sammamish Plateau Water District is in the process of designing and building a $20 million PFAS treatment system for our water supply.
That's great.
So that's what I know.
No, that's great. I needed that because I recently went to a water quality conference, and one guy was telling me that I said that he's doing all this treatment for other cities. I said, did you do anything for city of, you know, Sammamish? Is the plateau water? So they did not take our system. So I know that you are doing something else, but but the PFAS level is little high.
Yeah.
For your city. I said, don't tell me that.
It's, I've actually had to call Jay, the commissioner, to get a copy of the report. They don't put all the data in, the little brochure you get every quarter.
So I'm glad that they're doing the treatment system,
Yeah.
That's good that you are keeping in track.
Yeah, I'd love to get a tour once it's set up and running and see what they're doing. My wife noticed right away, because you probably noticed all of our water bills have gone up considerably and will continue. So even though the water district got some funding from the federal government, and they participated in lawsuits against the manufacturers of these chemicals, and they won some cost recovery there, but a lot of it's being funded in the consumer rates going up.
Yeah, they're not paying upfront, so we have to fund that.
Yeah.
But Rose, that is very important thing, because even if you filter and microfilter, it does not take away PFAS.
At parts per trillion levels, yeah.
What about
So-
an activated charcoal filter?
Charcoal, if you do properly, it will do that. But that's what the guy was trying to sell, activated carbon.
With
to our-
reverse osmosis to it?
That will do it too.
Okay.
Certain, you have to have different level of filter. Yeah. Thank you. I'm glad that you know that.
Helps to have experts from different backgrounds on this commission for sure.
Thank you.
Yeah, no, I spoke at a few Issaquah City Council meetings a few years ago.
Oh, no, that's
Private
great.
data center.
That's great.
Yeah.
And water quality is hugely important. I would say that's a little bit outside of the purview of the commission, right? So we do have these great Sammamish Plateau Water and Cascade Water Alliance that really kind of are the leaders in that for the city, that we rely on at their partnership. What we're really focused on when it comes to water resources is water efficiency and decreasing water consumption as it directly relates to greenhouse gas emissions and climate resilience. So just keeping that in mind with especially ambassadors, I think that's a little bit outside of their scope.
Yeah,
but
no,
it's
that's
really
not within their scope.
absolutely important and great for the commission to know about.
So as it tie into our plan to kind of reduce vehicle miles traveled, the next chemical that's on the horizon is called 6-QQPD.
Oh, from tires.
From tires. So the chemicals they put in tires to make them last longer do not get along very well with salmon.
Which you suit 622 what?
It's 6-QQPD, I think.
P
I think it's 6-QPPD.
Yeah.
PTZ?
D.
PTD.
Yeah, Swan's looking it up. I get it's a very long chemical name, and they just made an acronym out of it.
Yeah. I think the Q is for quinone or something.
Where's the Q? Wait a minute.
6.
It's a rubber stabilizer.
Oh, 6 PTD. Okay.
Your name.
Okay.
That's something we could definitely look at doing some social media or like
Yeah.
a mini campaign over
Yeah.
if the commission chooses next year.
Mhm.
Or farmers food outreach or whatever. I know there's a number of agencies that are working and aware of that. Yeah. All of these products we use and consume and
Think about it, we weigh your tires down, where's all that rubber go? Yeah. All right.
okay,
All right.
great.
So there's 10 people on this program, right? There's 2 paid and 8 unpaid.
Minimum. So
Minimum.
last year they actually had 18 student interns from Sammamish. Yeah, I think that was the total over the course of the year, not active necessarily all year because some folks graduated out at the end. And then some folks, their ability to participate depends on their extracurriculars.
Sure.
But yeah, we had really great participation numbers from multiple different schools, high schools and middle schools. So definitely want to keep that momentum
Yep.
going.
And across that number, they have to hit each of these. So it's not each
Yeah.
member needs to do 3 things. It's you can sign up, you can volunteer for a quarter, do 1, and that helps the program, and you're good, like in that unpaid way. So what's the guy's
They
name?
they have their
Peter.
three, they have
Peter
their 3
Trax.
personal, they all have their 3 personal impact projects that they have to do.
Yeah,
And then I believe the rest of the responsibilities, the deliverables are distributed.
yeah.
Got it.
Stephanie, maybe you can step in as well, but my understanding is one of the minimum requirements for a student to participate in sustainability ambassadors is to commit to doing impact projects. It's 3 per person. Yeah.
It's 3. Sometimes like not everyone gets to 3 and that's
Yeah.
okay. But yeah, 3 is
Yeah. And then Swan was correct. Like some students really take the leadership role in the carbon commute count. Some students really thrive coming and tabling at markets and Earth Day. So they do a good job of kind of delegating those responsibilities amongst themselves with the help of those student interns.
Just more for clarity than for any concern, is there what are like the I guess definitional and functional differences between the paid or the non-paid positions as ambassadors?
Yeah. So my understanding is the paid interns are kind of the point person that work with Peter directly. So they are putting in the extra hours. They are helping to organize their peers, keep track of impact projects, serve as leaders for the Sammamish cohort, if you will. And because of that, they're not just getting volunteer hours. They are actually paid a stipend from sustainability ambassadors. So the city is not paying them directly. We are contracting with sustainability ambassadors, and they identify those students that receive the stipend.
Okay.
And they're typically students who have already been involved in sustainability ambassadors. They're not usually first year. They're usually juniors or seniors who have really matured with the program.
Okay.
Yeah, so supporting some early career growth too.
No, I think it is very important.
No,
Even getting the students engaged, you know, thinking about sustainability, it's a huge benefit. Like, even if they're doing not 3 impact project, even if they do 1 impact project, still it is beneficial.
Yes.
Yeah, exactly.
I wanted to add something onto the school versus school competition for
Yeah.
transportation. I just thought of it, but I remember that someone from Tesla STEM, they like coded this site that people could connect with other like school commuters and they could carpool together. So like kind of like a carpool network in the school. I think that could be another cool thing if they want to work with that student. They've graduated now, but
I'm just
they can
thinking
get in
I think this is the third time. I think this is the third time someone at STEM has been one of those.
And there is also a King County Metro platform called School Pool that actually does that as well. A lot of these platforms are really wonderful in concept, and in practice it can be really tough to get parents, because the students are not necessarily the ones driving, especially when they're early in their license. They're actually not allowed to drive their peers. But it's definitely something, you know, we could encourage them to be reaching out to the PTA directly. I know there are a couple very engaged school board members. So when we have done messaging about School Pool, it's been kind of mixed in terms of the uptake, but I will definitely talk with Peter and see if he's done any work with School Pool in other jurisdictions and may add that to the scope of work. Because if we were able to get a couple schools participating and actually using that tool, I think you're right. It would absolutely cut back on the amount of single occupant vehicles and encourage carpooling.
You do talk to Peter, because I remember every time I would volunteer at schools, you know, I had to fill out some paperwork, they do a background check, and so is that security built into this carpool system? Like, get some creepy guy that's looking to carpool with kids.
As far as I know, they do have some of that built in as part of it. I don't know exactly how it works, but I know that that's something that was an active consideration as they were developing.
Yeah, I'm not sure about student projects. I'm sure that was a consideration for the King County system School Pool. It is secure and it is only usable by folks who sign up through the school platform and do get that verification check, which is really wonderful, but it also means the city can't be the facilitator or the owner or really participate in any way. If anything, we just want them to know that this platform exists and to encourage use. But it is kind of a closed loop, kind of like a private Facebook group. The city has our public page, but we are not a member of these private pages. And that's for the security of individuals, because anything that is on city platforms is subject to public records. But yeah, that's great. Okay, any last thoughts on sustainability ambassadors? We are going to have their event presence in there. We do expect them to be at Earth Day again, as well as tabling at a couple of farmers markets and or helping with waste sorting. Yeah. Anything else that comes to mind?
This looks like
No, I'm happy they're there. I'm happy they're supporting us.
Great.
It's good value for the $20,000 the city is spending on the contract.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I do have 2 really quick
Yeah.
thoughts. One of them, I think the city could use some of the storytelling from the impact projects in outreach a little more. Potentially like in farmers markets, or even when trying to encourage people to join programs like the Green Child Campaign or something, they could push out those videos specifically for that. That may have already been happening, but I think doing that more would be cool.
Yeah, we are currently in transition, trying to comply with the state's ADA updated requirements, which I just attended a presentation internally earlier today. Unfortunately, Instagram Reels, videos, any kind of images with text that is not a PDF, none of those are ADA compliant. So that is a conversation I should have mentioned at the beginning, but that is a conversation I'll be having with Peter that I know other cities are as well, is how do we ensure that sustainability ambassador work is ADA compliant without creating a huge barrier for these students. And what that looks like is likely them keeping it on their own platform. Not something we can necessarily reshare in its initial form, but something we can look at, point folks towards. I'm still a little bit unclear on what that might look like. So that is to be determined, how we will address, but absolutely. And especially having, like, for the guide, I saw Swan when you had submitted your suggestions, highlighting those impact projects. So maybe not taking the exact video that sustainability ambassadors had developed, but having a student provide quotes or feedback and kind of taking that in a different format.
It's a great idea.
Yeah.
One other thing that might be helpful to have, just because there's a non-zero chance when this goes, because this is going to go to the city to the council for this budget cycle, right?
Because this is a lower contract amount, if the sustainability budget as a whole is approved, this falls under climate action plan implementation. So we have a bucket of funds for this, for some of the campaigns that we do, some of the recycling outreach. That all falls into one budget line bucket that this is a part of.
Okay.
Yeah.
So this is low. This is low enough threshold that it doesn't need to go to it's like city managers. Okay.
Correct.
Yeah. Okay. Cool.
Which is great because they don't. I mean, we can get a lot done with $20,000.
The reason I brought it up is because if this was going to go to council, they would want, just from what I've seen, they would probably want at least some sort of breakdown of what that budget is being spent towards. But if it doesn't need to go in front of council, that's not a concern, so we don't need to worry about it.
Yeah, and we get invoices.
I'm not worried about that. It's like I know that we'll get that information if we need it. I'm not worried about that up front.
Yeah, that's a great point though, Swan. I appreciate you thinking about that. Okay, great. Thanks, folks. You will likely not hear about sustainability ambassadors again until August or September, where we'll probably have them come, introduce themselves, get that new cohort, kind of like they did at the beginning of the last contract cycle. So that will look like a shared meeting sometime within the next 4 to 5 months.
Cool.
As they get the school year started and kind of get some of these projects going. Okay. Moving on to the next agenda item.
The sustainability guide. So everyone should have a copy in front of them. Hopefully you had a chance to review it. The potential add-ons that Rose has added, they're open for discussion, and we can go through those tonight if you would like, or you can submit comments to Rose. In general, the city's just looking for our feedback and endorsement of the revisions. And have we missed anything in terms of what we're reporting on and discussing, and or I know the graphics aren't in here, Rose, but you were looking for feedback too on maybe how information's organized. You'll notice some of this will have, Rose and I had a long conversation about this, like how deep do we want to go here, or put a QR code that directs the reader back to a website that has a lot more deeper information, so it's not a 50-page guide. And it sounds like the city's leaning that approach, right?
Because not every resident is going to be interested in every resource or section. Some might already have a heat pump and already have weatherized their home, and maybe they have a new build. So making sure that it's accessible, people can kind of choose their own adventure while still having a really clear call to action and making sure that it's accessible for folks, and you're not having to click through 5 different links to get where you need to go. So Really quickly, I just want to talk through the review process.
Yeah.
I know we talked about the iPad apps, making sure that you save it. If you run into any technical difficulties, please don't hesitate to reach out. Rich and I will be happy to help you either after the meeting today, or we can set up a separate time. The main thing is just this first review cycle ends June 17th. So please make sure you have all feedback to me by June 17th that is not captured in our meeting today. So want to make sure that we're having a group discussion about this and that you also have time to go through this individually on your own pace. And then I will be compiling all of that into the next draft for our July meeting. And then you'll have until July 15th to finish reviewing as well. And I will send email reminders between the meetings. And yeah.
I've got a few items for discussion. Swan probably does as well. Does anyone else have anything they want to bring up while we're all here? Discuss in terms of feedback?
Just as a quick question for in terms of process, do we want to do we want to go through section by section? Do we want to just popcorn around? What would be the best way to go through? And obviously, if things come up later, we can go back to them. But in terms of initial
I
process,
think it makes sense to just go page by page, so
Okay.
we have a flow. So that's a good point.
Yeah.
So
Do high level and then page by page.
yeah. So like the potential add-ons on page one are pretty high level.
Mhm.
So we're happy to go through those. Rose had some ideas, rather than individual quotes like we've done in the guides, do we want like some sort of like endorsement letter from the commission? What are people's thoughts on that?
I was thinking that individual quote was good because letter is a text, people typically it's like, if it is a quote, it is all of us has certain areas that we feel strongly about. And especially when I read this last year, the quote, you see the heat pump and, all these quotes and everything, it brings home that point. But if we do a letter, it's plain text, right? So it does not, people may not be getting that much because people attention will be 30 seconds. And within 30 seconds, they will get the heat pump story very clear. And wonderful quote, I like this quote.
Yeah,
Because it is a quickly.
It connects it to people, not just a letter.
That's our intention.
Yeah.
But if we do a letter, like we do not know how many people will read that letter and things like that. So I think that for communication, like each of us has certain things we're passionate about and we feel strongly, and we can make this point because wonderful points they make, and all of them, like those quotes are pretty. I like it. It brings the point home.
Yeah.
it's the one floor elevator pitch.
my thought process overall is what we do doesn't necessarily have to be the same quote formats.
Different. It could be different.
Yeah,
but
like I'm absolutely up for it's for no reason, the sake of variety, doing something a little bit different. I do know people did enjoy the quotes. Like I heard that as feedback from community members, and I know people read them because like that was how that is how some people found out that I was on the commission, was because they saw those quotes. So I know that people read them and that they worked.
Yep.
The main thing, and very much building off what Mizan was saying, I fully agree. The core function of whatever message we are putting out there as commissioners is to connect with people, to make it feel like this is personal outreach and not just some official city document that is giving you things to do with your house. What I was writing up when I was looking at this a couple of days ago is it should feel like someone is saying something that matters to them, that they want to connect to the reader. Letters can do that, but it's harder. It's also a lot harder for that to have individualized things. It kind of has to either be a conglomeration of things we're all saying, or it's basically just quotes because it's a bunch of separate things within a larger text.
Well, that's a good point. So maybe as we're providing feedback, there's 7 of us, there's 5 sections. So if you feel strongly about a particular section and you would like to provide a quote, maybe let Rose know. Because not everybody got in the last guy.
And also, like if you feel strongly anybody about the letter, it could be a combined letter, small letter
I
from
think we moved away from the letter.
Yeah.
Okay. Does anybody want the letter, or do you want individual quotes?
I think like the way the letter was written, like the short little blurb that was on there. So if there's space for that at some point, but I definitely like the quotes because they're more.
Yeah.
I think we absolutely could include the letter in some capacity.
Yeah. In addition to the quotes.
Maybe a call to action on the last page.
Yeah.
And-
Something.
yeah. The letter could get that could also, because one of the other suggestions for the add-ons is something connecting specifically to the student ambassadors. And that could be another good place for the letter, especially if we reach out to them and like there's something they want to include.
Mhm.
Like that's something we could filter through into that letter format.
Yeah, I think that would be a good opportunity to highlight the great work that's been done as well. If we have either a shared quote from you all and ambassadors, or quotes from you all and a shared statement from ambassadors with the QR code linking to the impact projects that they've done.
Well, that's a great point. It's not the Sustainability Commission guide. So, do we want to have maybe a few students that are student ambassadors, sustainability ambassadors that are part of the quote process?
Yeah,
Think about that, nice to have a picture and a quote, and I think that would be a feather in the cap of a student that's really on board with this program, right?
I'll have to check if we can do individual students versus sustainability ambassadors as a whole, but definitely something I will look into.
Okay.
And because we're not technically contracting with them right now, what it might be is a quote from Peter with a link to the website that they can then update. Maybe they have a specific Sammamish landing page, highlighting some projects that have happened in Sammamish.
Yep.
I think that's
a good idea.
Yeah.
In terms of the other add-ons, the notes for potential add-ons, I called out a couple of them in the specific sections, but I do think where there is space on those supplemental content pages, I think that could be a very good thing to include. In part because it's showing like community engagement, showing things that people are already doing, and also because a lot of those things that these impact projects are doing, whether it's the vampire plugs or water conservation type stuff, those are also just good things for people to be doing in general to make sure that their houses are doing well, that they're doing good things with all of their appliances. And that can be a very good way to encourage people to do things of, hey, see these projects that these students are doing. You could be doing this too. This is a high schooler doing this. Adults.
yeah.
And obviously phrased very nicely, but it can be a little bit of positive pressure to engage and do these same projects.
Thinking more about the letter, could we have some pictures? Like, so some of us went on the Republic Services recycling event, right? We've got Cedar Grove coming up in October. We like to take group pictures there. Maybe a couple of those pictures would be like, part of the endorsement letter. That's the call to action that makes it personal, right? I'm like you. People were crawling out of the woodwork when they saw, these personal statements. I didn't know you were on this commission, and I like the idea of having pictures of people in the community that are like helping implement the climate action plan.
So what I'm hearing for feedback in terms of images, because that is my next step, is to submit this to our graphic designer and then start pulling images. I think the last two guides have had, relatively stock images, if you will. And so what I'm hearing is we want a lot more photos of the community at events, next to their heat pump, whatever the heck.
Birthday picture, maybe.
What I might challenge you each to do is, if there is a specific section that you're really interested in, if you're able to get a picture of you either turning off your water or next to Steve, you smiling next to your heat pump.
Next to both
Of your heat pump. So that might be kind of, maybe we could grab a little section on like the bottom third of each section. The bottom third of each section could have a little highlight about a commissioner saying, hey, here's an action I took. And then the top part could be a picture of you doing the action, or with some image that is related to the action, to get it a little bit more, to activate, right?
You can have Tim next to his heat pump water heater.
There you go. That's very
A
beautiful.
lot of people don't know that even exists. So I think, as much as we're able to highlight these different topics, that wherever you feel comfortable with, maybe you want a picture next to your electric vehicle, maybe you don't. Like,
I was thinking about that, whether it's a good idea or not.
If it's not, if
That's all
it's
problem.
your electric vehicle, maybe it's a picture of you biking on the East Lake Sammamish Trail, you know?
We
Leave
probably
our
have
license
pictures
down.
of us doing environmental field work though, right?
Right.
Yeah.
I definitely have some pictures from some of the stuff I've done in the garden, Big Rock Central. So
That would be great. Yeah, and I do have some pictures from different events, but I'm sure you all have action shots or events that I maybe wasn't at or was doing something else. So after our meeting today, I'll follow up, recognizing we have a couple commissioners not here today. Just like I had collected quotes for last year, we'll do a similar process, but challenge you to do a more active image. Great idea. Love the brainstorming.
any other things for the add-ons, or should we start going through the rest of it?
It's not part of the add-on, it's more of a high level feedback.
Mhm.
And I struggle to remember that not everyone like stares at these all the time, kind of like we do. Like, hey, like to me, they're like continuous things that we've been working on,
Mhm.
citizens, whatever it's not. But so when I look at the Word doc that we got, like the thing that I get the most is like I'm kind of overwhelmed with all the options
Mhm.
that I'm given and like all these things. Like I think we know what the big like one or two actions someone should take
Mhm.
in each one of these pages.
Mhm.
And whether they can do them now or whether it's like, you know, in 5 years, because it's a heat pump, like we want them thinking about it now. Like I feel like we should dive deep into, you should be thinking about now getting ready for a heat pump. Like don't forget,
Mhm.
like in that, like that's like the number one thing you can do for the city. Help the city hit its goals
Mhm.
is get a heat pump put in when you're age. We don't expect you to do it tomorrow.
So we have a section, what can the community do for the environment? Sorry.
Yeah, but I want to like on in each one of like each page for each like two
Each
pages,
section.
like
Instead of like,
right,
instead of like
like,
a dozen. different
yeah, your
things.
number one thing to do in energy conservation is this. Your number one thing to do in water in conservation is this. Like if you do this, whether it's you do it now because you can, or you do it in 5 years because that's when you need to actually do it, like that's what you need to be doing. And then here's some other things, like the vampire stuff is cool, but you know, the impact's not that
Yeah.
great. It's also really easy, but the impact's not.
So
that
is it, I mean, that, it's kind of there's the checklist, there's.
Yeah, but that's it.
The
That's where,
messaging.
that's where you get overwhelmed. That's where I get overwhelmed. I just want like,
Too many things.
what do I need to do for energy conservation?
Okay.
Building
But
off of that. a
the
little bit.
message needs to be, if you're gonna, the secret to the reducing your carbon footprint is to electrify.
Right.
But nobody knows what, I agree with you, nobody, that.
Right.
So the message needs to be, or the thought you need to put in their head is the next time you have a fossil fuel powered appliance or device and it reaches its end of life, you need to think electric.
Yeah, and you need to be thinking about it now
Yeah,
and to do it. And like, that one's the obvious one, I think. And so I totally agree with you. Like,
but
When-
it's cars, it's
yeah, but when it comes
dryers,
to, yeah,
water heaters. It's
totally. But when it comes to like
furnaces.
transportation, would we like to push them towards electric cars? Or do we want to push them towards riding the bus? I don't know, but I feel like the climate action plan answers that a little bit, like.
Well,
Trying to
what should be like
visualize
that
your
big
feedback,
one?
do you think that's a call out box or
I
how
think
do
it's
you
like, I
simplify
think it's
it?
like half the page of that thing is like, here's the number one thing you can do to help reduce your impact and help the city meet its
But
climate
how do
action
we
plan.
decide which is number one? I mean, there's multiple options. for
That's what I'm
the
thinking.
board.
That's
So-
that's where the word.
So I think this could be, sorry, go ahead,
You go-
Stephen.
everybody in the city is gonna go for a car. They may ride the bus every once in a while, but they're gonna have a car that's
It's very
right,
late, yep.
maybe 2 or 3 in this city. So you want them to be thinking, I wanna trade this gas powered car when it gets too expensive to keep repairing it for an electric one. Oh, sure, I'll ride the bus, but I need to get that electric car.
So Tim, I see a potential solution or recommendation. Do we think it could be, so here's
Yeah.
kind of just an example visualization. I know this is the first page, but could it be something where we combine the commissioner action photo quote with that call to action? Where each commissioner has a section that they work with me to write a blurb. This is the most impactful action. I have done this, or I'm planning on doing this, or I've seen my neighbors and friends do this. And this is why you should care, and this is the impact that it has. So for example, if this were the natural resources section, we might have a little bit of general information, maybe a checklist or two with a QR code. And then that bottom half or third of the page could be, instead of just a quote, it's a short paragraph, maybe two small paragraphs, highlighting the biggest action on that page or highlighting a really key action on that page. And then each of you kind of can own that. How do folks feel about it?
Broadly speaking, yes.
Okay.
I think we can. I think it'll probably vary a little bit from section to section.
It would take a good amount of space, so I want to make sure I have buy-in on this before the next version. But it's definitely doable, right? So if you take the sustainable buildings and energy section, for example, all of these introductory quotes I have shortened. So there's going to be a lot less text at the beginning. We could reorg this. So instead of being this whole space, maybe it's a little bubble up here that actually looks like a sticky note or checklist on there. And then the bottom half of the page is the commissioner call to action. And then the left side or the right side, depending on how you're looking at it, could still be a helpful graphic or a map or a diagram.
Last Tuesday. Was it last Tuesday? You were there.
Oh, the city council.
Yeah,
A couple of
I
weeks ago.
made a comment on our recommendation for the hybrid system. But in the comment, I said the following. As Saul Griffin, author of Electrify an Optimist Playbook for Our Clean Energy Future, likes to say, what matters most are your big purchasing decisions. Your next car, furnace, stove, water heater, dryer needs to be electric.
That could be in the guide, that quote.
Yeah. As long as the electric come from clean power.
Pardon?
As long as the electric come from clean power.
Well, we have no choice there. But, you know, I mean, everybody plugs into Puget Sound Energy, but they are under the gun to get clean.
I do think it is good to include the checklist, to keep the checklist in some capacity, because I know that people,
fine.
yeah, like people did use those to varying degrees. And we can go through and we can refine the checklists however much, but I do think because one of the things we had last year is we had those different symbols for like these are your biggest impact items. We don't necessarily need those if we're going to be focusing on like most of the page focusing on this one larger impact item. But I think we do want to keep the checklist in some capacity.
Yeah.
If for no other reason than like this is your biggest ticket thing, but like we just replaced our water heater. We weren't able, like for a couple reasons, we weren't able to replace it with an electric one. So it's going to be a while before that's up for replacement. So in the meantime, what are these other things we can be doing? And I think that's important to maintain community engagement and interest in taking action. I can talk about it a little bit more at some point. But one of the things that I do, if possible, I want to at least bring attention to, maybe this is something that goes in my section, I don't know, is one of the most important things with this individual action that we're pushing people towards, because Sammamish is, the vast majority of Sammamish's carbon emissions are residential, just because there isn't a large commercial sector. There really isn't an industrial sector at all. So here we kind of have to focus on individual action. But especially in a lot of other cities, that is not the case. And so the goal of this individual action is to push for larger systematic changes on the commercial and on the industrial level. And we want to encourage people not to just stop at doing the things around their house. We want to encourage people to at least take interest or if possible, take some sort of action on those larger scales. Because that's outside of this city, that's where most of those emissions are happening.
Heard.
And I can talk about that a lot more. I'm not going to now, but I can.
To address Tim's concern about this, in these bullets, there's too many words.
Okay, yeah.
Except for some of them, they don't have enough words.
If you've ever pitched a vice president or president of a company and shown
Can't say I
like
have.
this, you'll be shown the door.
Be brief, be bright, be gone.
Yeah.
Each week, any word chart has to have no more than 5 bullets, 8 words apiece.
Okay.
We're in a totally different culture.
Yeah, you do.
Where I write 6-page Word documents with in type 10
Well,
font.
yeah,
and
you
fill
got-
up every bit of white space.
you
We
got a
also
guy
sit down and everybody reads them before a meeting,
100%.
right? Yeah.
100%, but I know where you're going from.
So I do think this is a good point to kind of look at. So if we're looking at the sustainable transportation page, for example,
Mhm.
this is just me brainstorming, trying to get direction for the next iteration of this. I think, so in every section where it says benefits, I think we could take that out. We don't need to use page space for the
Yeah.
benefits. I think
Yeah.
that's something that the, whatever commissioner kind of owns that section could include in their brief blurb.
That's your point.
And the same thing for public transportation. We could have QR codes for all of this, but we also have one city page called Getting Around that has all of this information. So we could take out that public transportation section and just say, want to know more about public transportation? Here's a QR code. That takes up very little space on the page and would clear up the opportunity for you all. But if there was a specific program like Community Van that we wanted to really highlight, we could take space on page 2 of the transportation section to highlight that.
I do want to push back a little on putting too many links or QR codes within the main body of the documents. Like, I think it's good to have this stuff on the end, or like having like little inserts like we have here for the public, like this public transportation map we had from last year's. Every time there's a QR code, that you are losing a large portion of your audience because they're not going to actually follow that code. They're going to go, they're just going to see that there's a section on it and they'll go, oh, I'll check that out later. And then they never go and look at it.
Yeah, here's another point,
Mhm.
that they're gonna get a paper copy of this.
Yeah.
And links don't work. in
Well, yeah,
paper.
yeah, links don't work, and
But QR code will work.
QR codes will work as long as they have a device that can read them.
Yeah, and know how to.
Yeah, know how to, and I'm not always a fan of how ubiquitous QR codes have become everywhere because they are a barrier to access and they slow down accessing things.
Yeah.
So, like, I definitely think having like this section on the back is great. I do think we could also just include the links written out, but that's a
Yeah.
but especially for within the body of the document, I think minimizing links, if there's something that we want to have a link to more information, it could be a little insert off to the side, but that should be a more information, not a here is the information.
Yeah. One thing I'm thinking that the balance between referring to additional information versus what we need to have the basic information here.
Yes.
So that anybody decide not to go any of the links, so that they still have the good information,
Yeah, yes.
basic
Supporting
information.
data.
That we need to have.
Mhm.
Then for additional information, we can refer them to the link or the QR code. But the basic, if they do not go anywhere, they should have the basic information.
Yeah.
from
Yeah,
the-
'cause
You-
the link basically is for the skeptic.
Or someone who
No,
wants to learn more.
additional information,
Yeah.
yeah.
I
Because
think
we
more
cannot
information.
put everything in this one.
Yeah.
The link or those are good idea, like, maybe we can put at the end of the page or somehow, whatever the more, better way to put it, that's fine, but we need to have the basic information so that if we assume that somebody does not go to any of the links or anything, still they have the good information.
So could we use the transportation section to kind of workshop what that might look like real quick?
Yeah,
Obviously, this is the first iteration. The whole point of this is we want to make edits and make it better. So if you're looking at public transportation, the initial iteration has 4 QR codes for each of those, consolidating that into 1 QR code for public transportation options in Sammamish, having the sustainability commissioner call to action at the bottom of the page, which touches on benefits, and maybe, you could either pick tips and tricks for everyone that you're going to talk to, or you could talk to the greater impact, and then whichever one you're not including in your commissioner blurb, that could be a sticky note or a little checklist or a little call out box to support. So we're still having a call out box or 2, but some of it is more written, want more information, here's a QR code. Am I hearing that right?
So how is what you propose different from what's in the most recent guide?
Similar but different. So if you're looking at the sustainable transportation page, what it would be is instead of having 2 different checklists, it would be maybe 1 checklist.
Okay.
And then instead of the introductory and Brian quote, it would be a Brian quote. And maybe instead of even having sustainable transportation, it's some of these key points. Use King County Metro Trip Planner to search for the quickest public transit route.
Yeah.
I'm not tied to anything specific. I'm trying to kind of gauge
Yeah, no.
what, as a resident or a user, right? I don't want people to just have to read text, but there is at a certain point we do need text to communicate.
I like the gray box, the benefits. So were you talking about repackaging that into the quote or?
Yeah, that could be an option. I'm really looking to you all for some direction on this.
Yeah.
Benefits doesn't take up a whole lot of space and is a very quick, like, this is why this matters, whether it's the same text or whether it's some other, like, whether it's like whatever the actual specific content is, that's sort of this is the very brief, why do you care about this? So I do think having something in that capacity is relevant.
Are you good with that, or is it word salad?
The benefits there?
Yeah.
It's a lot. I scan right past it. It's just a lot of words in this format.
Maybe it could look like a gold star in the top corner of the
Maybe.
page that kind of draws your eye a little bit more.
Yeah.
Maybe. I mean, I'm immediately drawn to Brian on this page.
Right.
That's
the quotes.
right.
Mhm.
That's a good way to, it's engaging. It's the way it's written. Not the words themselves are good as well, but just like the graphics around it are like, look at this. This is what I need to do. And that's that. And the quotes were good, but that's where we need, like, if you do one thing, this is what you need to do.
Yeah.
In this,
Or maybe
it's transportation.
Maybe tying the benefits somehow into the quote.
Yeah.
Maybe, but if you make the quote as long as the benefits, it's going to be hard to read.
It's already longer.
The quote? No, the quote's like well more than half the words.
I think he's the benefits and the intro paragraph.
Yeah. No, I was thinking of combining them, like, so the benefits become part of the quote. It's sort of, the messaging is all one, and it's in the quote.
Yeah, but like that's what I'm saying. Like if you take his quote and add these lines of text in there somehow,
Right.
like it becomes a very long quote.
Well, I was thinking that the quote, somewhere within the quote messaging are the benefits.
Sure.
But then there's the personal angle too. Like
Right.
Christy had a very personal statement in there that was not the benefit summary, and so that's the challenge. Yeah.
So
That is.
just looking at this, I'm like visualizing what we might do. So like I think the image at the top, we could maybe like cut it a little bit, like make it a little
It is
bit
big.
yeah, so that we have more space. And then I mean, I don't know. I think part of the benefits that makes them hard to notice is the color. Like maybe it could pop up a little bit more. Because now it's like the lightest color on the page. And then I'm visualizing that we could have like some of these like checklists with action. Then we could have one checklist that really pops out that has like highest impact action instead of just action. And that's like, and then the quote is related. So that could be like the bigger part.
Kind of that.
Wow, Spot, that was awesome.
Yeah, exactly, like a little graphic. Yeah.
It's kind of like that sort of layout.
Folks could cut it out. Folks could just,
Yeah.
It just draws your eye a little bit more, and it feels less like, oh, this is a checklist, but this is a fun
Not liking this
to-do list I want to try.
Yeah.
So one thing that I could see, Stephanie, building off of your suggestion is instead of having a generic quote, it could be a picture of Nick riding his bike with Nick with a quote, and it maybe being a little bit longer here. And so instead of it being a chunk here, it's a little bit less to read action. And then over the photo of Nick riding his bike, sorry, I'm using you as an example, you could have a little checklist right here floating. And that's a lot less text. It kind of draws your eye to bounce around the page. Something to try for the next iteration.
So, sketched out a little bit.
Oh my God, literally exactly what I was just saying.
I don't know how you did that. That was really awesome.
I've spent the past like 3 or 4 minutes sketching that out.
There you go.
Yeah, go for it. Absolutely.
That way I'll send it to the graphic designer. She'll know what to do.
I've just been pulling in everything everyone's been saying for the past 2 minutes and just slowly building that out.
Exactly. It takes a lot of brainstorming, right? It's like looking at it from the angle we want to be looking at it, but also looking at it from a resident who's maybe just moved here and didn't even receive the guides in the past.
Right.
And then I think this map was really wonderful. We can link this on the website now that we have it. So we may not need to include it in the
broadly speaking, for the supplemental pages, I don't think, and I have a note on this for the bus bingo, like, I don't think we want to do a full page for, like, a full page spread for the supplemental pages. I think that's a good place, kind of like just as an example for the sustainable natural resources, we have a few different things here. And I think, or like for like the sustainable living scenario, there's a couple different items here where we go, I think this is another good place to go a little bit more either in depth into some of the items for this is a little bit more of like the actual guide portion of this is how you do some of those steps, not just what the steps are, but the how, as well as depending on the content, highlighting things that are being done around the community. It could be a mix and match of both. Like it could be, here is how you can actually go about doing this particular important thing, and here are things that are going on in the community that are relevant. Looking at like sustainable transportation, like one of the things I have is like how to like one of the things you put for supplemental content, how to use the community van in Metroflex. I think including something about that could be very good, because that's the sort of thing of, okay, we can give people links, we can give people the QR codes for how to connect with these things, but they don't know how much work that's going to be. They don't know how involved that's going to be, and they've got their car, they can just use their car. But if we include a little brief diagram of like, here's what this actually looks like, here is how few steps it takes to connect with this resource, that can lower that barrier to entry. And then I don't know if the Parks Department has like an updated map for all of the different trails that there are in the city, but that could be another good thing either to include here or to have a link to.
Yeah, my one concern is just the scale, like being
readable, like that might not be something we include here, but that could be
a really good QR code link.
Absolutely. And that's the sort of thing that I think would be fine for a QR, because like if someone's going to want to do that, they're probably not going to be carrying this around as their map anyway. They're probably going to be looking up on maps, like on some sort of map software when they're actually getting around. But just knowing that that resource exists if they want to use it, kind of finding the balance there.
Yeah.
And more things I can go through section by section.
Is this map a place where we might want to think about putting in the EV chargers?
I mean, we could.
Do we have it?
Yeah.
Do we currently have a map of those already, like to produce, or that needs to be put together?
We have we have a link to the I don't think it's EPA, but there's a map of national charger locations that are all registered, that are publicly available, that is pretty accessible. So yeah, we have that data. We might not have an official map of it on the city website, but we do link to.
That's because you need to add, what level is it? It would be nice if you put in, this probably isn't legal to do, what it costs per kilowatt hour.
Yeah, I think.
But that changes.
And plug types.
But that's a lot of real estate, and I mean,
I don't.
Most people have EVs, and Sammamish probably have chargers at home. I don't know if there's any data on how many.
It was included in the fleet electrification study. I don't have it off the top of my head, but essentially our demographics, everything is indicating that most folks in Sammamish who have electric vehicles do charge at home. But I still think it's.
But we have charging stations. We have here one here.
These are level 2, which are virtually worthless.
I think it would.
No, I'm not talking about.
I think it would be a good
supercharger.
Yeah, I think that's the thing for the website. I don't think we need.
Right. I don't think we need to waste like text on that in the guide if it's not.
The day will come when the proliferation of level 3 chargers, where somebody can get juiced up quickly, will happen, just like your gas stations.
In here, it's just not in this
But
country.
right now, yeah.
The Safeway parking lot, they have the like.
They have a Tesla.
Yeah.
They have
KFC has a Tesla.
15 minutes.
Yeah, they got them over here in QFC.
Yeah.
Just put them in.
Yeah.
I think I do like.
KFC has one. Yeah.
I do like the EV charger map, but I think something that might be more useful. I don't think this exists, but like a map of bike racks and Sammamish. I don't think that's the thing.
You get them installed anywhere. Apparently.
That could probably go alongside a tram in particular.
True. That would be cool.
Yeah.
40 cents per kilowatt, Steve, for your information. 40 cents per kilowatt.
Yeah, this is more than twice what PSE charges.
I think what I'm hearing for everybody is, let's think about maybe how to replace some of the words with images or
condense the words.
condense them, yeah. Or even makes, sometimes the images are dominating the pages too for a few of these, like.
Yeah.
And the images aren't speaking to anything specific. Like I think
Why is there like
Yeah.
a duck here? I mean,
Well, to make it
because there's no description of ecological impacts and sustainable water. Yeah,
I do think having the big pictures like that is an important part of the graphic design of getting people's attention and maintaining it. But I do think making sure those pictures are very directly, tangibly connected to the topic and tie into the text will make them more, because then that will give them a little bit more function as opposed to just being something to maintain engagement.
I agree. So maybe we can take just a couple minutes, just being mindful of time. We've got about 45 minutes left, plenty of time. Maybe we can just go through each section and brainstorm a couple of action images that would be helpful so that as I'm putting this together with the graphic designer, we make sure that we're integrating that feedback in the first draft. And then we can also go through and take kind of a pulse check, informal vote on what supplemental content I should bring forward for our next draft. Would that be?
that's fair.
Okay. Does everyone feel like their initial comments were captured? Obviously, we'll continue this conversation. Okay. But also, I want to just take a second on the introductory page. I know Swan, you had sent in some comments. Nick, you and I had connected. Those will be reflected in draft two. I want to make sure other commissioners had a chance if there was any initial feedback on page one. I know it's pretty text heavy right now. I'm going to take that feedback and try to make it a little bit less. And that chart with the climate action plan progress is going to become a pretty graphic. It is not going to just be a chart. It's going to be more like progress bars for each action.
My comment was like, I can't connect the years to the action. So Rose is going to have a graphic, a bar chart that's like a calendar view of what we're doing.
Maybe not. That might take up too much space. I'm going to see what we can do. I believe it's the Sequoia Climate Action Plan has a really nice, in their annual report, they have a graphic where it's like, so if you have 24 actions, it's 24 tiny little dots, and then you see it's all filled in with green if it's complete, yellow if it's in progress, and then the dots that are not filled in are the actions that still.
That's a good visual.
Yeah.
As the oldest member of this group, I would like to make a request.
Okay.
Don't make it so small I can't see.
Heard, Steve. Ties up text.
Fine.
Yeah, well,
So I actually had a little bit of free time earlier, surprisingly, and I just wanted to visualize the course I made. I don't know.
Exactly.
This is what we're thinking of, but I just thought it was cool to see them as different colored bars.
Yes, that is exactly what I did not have time to do.
I can see that from here.
Before we go section by section, because some of the stuff that I sent in just feedback, not so that we necessarily need to look at the question, but for some of it, I do want to go through some of those notes briefly, just for things that I'd be curious about other people's thoughts on.
Sure.
Just and then we can go through like further pictures. I just want to get through that quickly, and then yeah. Let's see. Where is it? Okay. This for the natural resources section and like for the stuff about littering. Because one of the thoughts I have for that is encouraging people to take action on picking up litter instead of just don't litter. It's pick up litter, because that kind of has the implied as well. Don't litter. Just wanted to say something about that.
Yeah, I saw that comment, so I thought that was great, kind of reframing. So instead of don't litter, here's an action you can. Instead of don't do an action, it's here's an action you can do.
On that same page, the note about like shrink your lawn, plant native species instead. What my understanding of what that would probably mean is like not having large grass lawns. It's like just having more space that is just plants. And I think I don't know how we would want to word that, but I think just saying that instead of shrink your lawns, because shrinking your lawn doesn't mean anything to me on its own.
Clover.
Yes.
Is much less
clover, moss.
Maybe replace your lawn.
Yeah.
or wildflowers.
And then we can either go over this now or later, but for waste reduction, I'm curious what the proper food storage thing would look like what that might involve. I don't know if we necessarily wanted to include that there, but that's definitely something that I would want to hear more about. Yeah, I have other things, but those are the main notes that I just wanted to make sure were brought up during the meeting. Like I said, I looked through a lot of what I sent, but.
Right, yeah, thanks. Should we rewind, Rose, back to
Yeah.
like start with energy and energy efficiency and power?
I just want to make sure
Did we
everyone
get
had
past
a,
page one?
I want to make sure everyone had a chance to give their comments on page.
On page one, okay.
I think the answer to this is we don't know / no, but there's no actual update on how the city is doing since the cap was written, right? Like we have these, like, here's what we've done, but we don't have here's the carbon emissions change year over year.
What we do have is the carbon emissions change from 2019 to 2023. The climate action plan was
It's
passed in
later.
2023.
Okay.
So I think that's definitely something we could highlight, but just with a little disclaimer that, you know, the climate action plan was adopted the same year as our updated greenhouse gas emissions, and we likely won't get another update for another year or two. But greenhouse gas emissions was something Swan had called out as well. I think at least, you know, mentioning the baseline, I think celebrating the progress that was done even before the adoption of the climate action plan is important. And Nick had also mentioned highlighting under climate action plan progress, it may not be quite as tangible, but the number of events and residents that we've interacted with, highlighting the amount of community
Love it.
engagement we've done.
Anything, yeah, because
The way you could address that, Rose, is that document was discussed for quite a while before it was finally,
Adopted, yeah.
so there was a, you know, and I don't know the extent to which it was broadcast to the community, but it was an action that was discussed at numerous city council meetings.
Mhm.
And so I think this effort, you can take some credit for the reduction between 2019 and 2023. It just didn't happen organically. There was some pressure applied, and some folks got religion and reduced their carbon footprint.
Yeah.
There was before that document was released, there was, can't remember, I'm blanking on the name, but there was a website created, a city website where you could log on and calculate your carbon footprint and compare yourself to your neighbor. Only 200 people signed up.
I think that was the Sustainable Sammamish or the Sammamish Climate Challenge.
Yes.
Yeah.
But it fizzled,
It-
unfortunately.
that was a shared initiative across the
Right,
east
yeah.
side cities, and yeah, we didn't feel like it was having the impact that we were looking for. But we do have a carbon emissions calculator available on the city website page that's a lot more user friendly. That's a third party, so directing folks to that or including a link I think would be appropriate.
So we do not have data for citywide, you know, the improvement that we have since 2023.
No,
What it takes to have that data.
a lot of consultant money.
A few more
We- yeah.
months until the next inventory.
Yeah, so we do our city inventories through the King County Climate Collaborative, the K4C, and I think they're committed to updating every, I say 3 to 5 years, so that you can see that change. There are some cities that do it every year. It's just not something that we've budgeted for, and a lot of those cities you're going to be seeing the needle move with some of their commercial changes versus for us it's a little bit more over time. So yeah, that's where we're at right now.
Okay.
Anything else on page one?
I have something, I guess, kind of like just a question about page 0, I guess, just the cover. I hope that this was.
Yeah, cover feedback is great too.
Yes, I was just wondering what the process is for selecting the cover image, and like maybe there could be something fun we could do with that. Like I know there's community, I guess, like submissions for some things, like where community members submit art or photos that they take. Maybe we could have, I don't know how much work would go into that, but it would be fun to get some.
kids contest.
Yeah,
Is there time to do that?
Probably too late for this
I
year.
was gonna say, I think for this year, it's gonna be a really tight crunch and I wanna make sure that we could do the appropriate outreach. But I would love if commissioners had specific images of parks or trees or, you know, anything around Sammamish that you have photos of that you think could be a good cover image. These are photos that I've taken from our parks team or our communications lead, that we just kind of filtered through what we felt was appropriate. I am more than willing to explore other options, especially if you all have submissions. I would love to be able to highlight a commissioner image on the front. It's even something you could all vote at in July if you're interested. So is that something folks are interested in? If so, I can use that as a follow-up to the meeting.
Well, I think, just thinking, you know, our first one was. It's about water resources, right? And this one looks like, you know, conservation, urban forest management. So is there like a theme for a picture we want on the next guide? Is it a transportation focus? Is it something about energy?
To prime people.
Yeah. And then what would that look like in Sammamish? You know, it might be hard to create that image from a photo, but it doesn't have to be a photo. It could be your design team could create an image as well, right?
Yes, if I have direction on what that image is.
Yeah.
For the cover of photo is probably going to work better, just in terms of getting the right idea across.
I guess what I'm trying to say is,
When do you have to pick the photo?
I would like to have it by June 17th, which is when I will be submitting I need to give the graphic designer about a week or two to put all this together. So
Okay.
I submit to the graphic designer on June 17th.
Ouch.
She gets back to me early July.
All right, so
Yeah.
for any of us to get a photo to you, that's
yeah.
a tight window.
It's a pretty quick turnaround, but if it's photos you already have,
Mhm.
please send them my way. And we also could change the cover photos. So the graphic designer between June 17th and I believe it was July 3rd is going to be putting all this together. And then there will be another opportunity for commission review at the July meeting, in which case we could change the cover photo, but I do need a cover
Okay.
photo for the initial draft.
All right.
Does that make
Yeah.
sense?
Yeah.
So you can send me
All
photos
right,
between
so-
now and July. But
So if we as a group decided, okay, go away and find your picture that depicts sustainability in Sammamish and submit it. And we each threw in one photograph and we looked at them and
Yeah.
did some, and picked one.
That
I
might
think
be-
that's great.
When I look at this photo, it's like Sammamish is a great place to live. Let's keep it that way, right? And here's how we do it. So I'm trying to think of like a theme. This sets the stage for the guide, and so what photo thematically represents what we're trying to accomplish either this year or overall.
One initial idea that comes to mind, just throwing it out there, there's a lot of different ways we could take this. Is maybe an aerial shot of a trail with some bikers on it.
Oh,
Yeah.
Thinking about transportation.
Yeah.
For buildings and energy, it gets a little bit trickier, but you could have a roof with solar panels. You could have Steve smiling next to his heat pump. You could have someone working in the community garden. Right? You could have a picture of the volunteers planting trees. So I think, yeah, as you're looking through your photos, I will probably bring a couple to maybe one or two to the table. You all, I highly encourage you to bring a couple to the table. Maybe that's an action item for the next meeting.
Yep.
Okay, perfect.
All right, we should keep going through.
Yep.
So,
And no pressure. If you don't have photos, that's okay.
You're just not a Sammamish.
We would like for it to be submitted.
Understand.
Okay.
none of our village garage is close enough, right?
The light room? Okay, so looking at we went through the intro page, looking at energy efficiency and power,
Mhm.
and the supplemental content. So I think I'd like to get just a general pulse check. Do we want to decide on pages today, or do we want to decide on pages in July? And by that, I mean, who is taking which section? Sorry.
I feel like that could probably be if people have a strong feeling about it today, they could say so. Otherwise, that could be also just communication between now and next meeting.
Okay.
Like if someone's like, hey, like this is something that I would be interested in doing, we can follow up on that during the next meeting. But that way like we can make those decisions and have the content ready. on or shortly after this meeting.
So I think for the sake of working with the graphic designer, what I'm likely gonna do is put a placeholder.
Mhm.
I might do a brief like example quote or example blurb just to fill the space and make sure that we have a general layout. For the energy efficiency and power supplemental content.
Mhm.
It would be helpful for me to get some direction from you all today. I think I have some pretty clear direction on the kind of intro page for each section, if you will. So looking at this again, we've got our intro page. We've talked about what that might look like. And then we still do have that blank supplemental page. Got some options here.
I like we did a spotlight on heat pumps last time, so maybe this time it's solar.
Mhm.
Okay.
Like you've got
Yeah.
suggested here. Maybe the imaging is around, a house in Sammamish with solar panels or just a generic photo.
Do we have, I don't disagree, but do we have numbers from any of our solar stuff last year, of like how many people in Sammamish actually qualify for solar from just a shade standpoint?
I can get that information, yes.
Okay, because it might be, I'm use case of one, but I was told no, because I have too many trees. And I can't.
I
don't
think the
that's
cost
unique.
barrier is pretty
Yeah.
significant for folks
Right.
as well.
Yeah,
To that point, and to drive our thermometer that's not
Yeah,
here.
that's what I
we
was
could
gonna say.
do a PSE.
Mhm.
I don't know if that gets weird because it's PSE, but like solar, clean, whatever the programs we're pushing, right? Or community solar
Yeah.
or whatever else.
Especially
Yeah,
depending on how far along we are with the green power program, I think.
I was gonna save this for commissioner and staff reports, but I'm pleased to share that we're at 80% of our goal as of June 1st.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
So that could
That
be-
means we still have 20% to go.
yeah. So that could
That's not good.
Guide comes out in September, it might be a bit of a moot point.
But there were more incentives, they said,
Yeah.
right?
so that
So,
that could be something.
and
whether
that
it's-
doesn't matter. Still gets people on green energy.
Or maybe a picture of the Highlight Middle School with the solar array.
Mhm.
Oh, that's
Maybe
good.
something.
Yeah.
That would be a good
Yeah.
image.
It's a bummer that those subscriptions are all fully taken.
Yeah.
But yeah, I like I like it. Like, do
Yeah.
that and then be like, this is how you can take advantage of something like this.
Yeah.
You can't put solar on your house,
Right,
which is probably
A lot.
50%,
Right.
if not more, of the people's homes in this neighborhood.
I think it'd be super.
we can't lose sight of, though, that the number one thing that any individual can do over about buying an electric car, is to get a heat pump.
Hmm.
That's gonna be the nastiest
That's that's
pollutant for us to get rid of.
that's the first time that's read.
Yeah.
That's the first word. That's
Yeah.
That's
what'll
the
be on
page
main
left.
Yeah, that'll be page left. We're looking, and then page right. It's what do we want? What else do we want to highlight?
Yeah.
I do think it could be useful to do a call out for Energy Smart East Side specifically. That's
Yeah.
something that we didn't really do last year. So maybe taking a third of the page to really quick call out. Did you know there's incentives available for Energy Smart East Side? You can calculate your savings. Here's a keyword.
Mhm.
Very small, but we do, one of the new things that we launched with Energy Smart East Side is a rebate calculator or an incentive calculator. So you can plug in your all of your information and then it'll spit out, here's how much you could save. So before you go through the whole process, you immediately know what are my, is it $1,000, is it $15,000, what
Yeah,
are
what
my.
it's gonna cost.
As something I briefly mentioned, but definitely like making sure that this is functional as a guide. And so like this is how you can get access to this resource. This is what this can do for you. That's the sort of thing I think is very good, especially for the supplemental pages.
Stephanie, did you have something you wanted to add?
Oh, thank you. I was just thinking if we put a photo of the Pine Lake solar, like including photos of the students working on it, and just like, I mean, if that's allowed, like just putting like as many people doing the hands-on, be cool.
I'll see if PSE has photos of when it was getting installed.
The students did the install? That sounds.
No.
Yeah.
probably not, but yeah, maybe there was a ribbon cutting ceremony or
Yeah.
something.
Yeah.
That would be on PSE's website if they have it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm hearing a consensus around a solar focus with maybe an Energy Smart East Side call out.
Yeah.
Recognizing that it's not necessarily just on solar, but it's also on those alternative programs as
Yeah.
well.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
I
think
think
the
one or two
resources is good.
Yeah.
Good thing that, like, how did you go?
Mhm.
How do you get help to do these things?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you think it would be helpful the way we kind of have like clean energy resource guide? Would it be helpful to have it say how to get heat pump rebates, how to energy smart east side. What's the kind of title call to action that we're trying to get at?
How to is a good starting point, and if like doesn't have to be exactly that, but definitely words that call out like this is a quick, like this is something you can do. This is how you learn how to do this thing. Like that sort of language, whether it's specifically how to title or whatnot.
So something that sustainability ambassadors had done is they can't remember the name of the platform off the top of my head right now, but they did basically a solar compatibility.
Yeah.
So what it could be is here's a little blurb about solar. Is solar a good fit for your home? Check here.
Mm-hmm.
If solar's not a good fit for your home, here's an option for you.
Mm-hmm. And even if
Kind
it
of
is,
step one, step two.
yeah, and even if it is, you could still go with this option.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah, and PSE just sent out an email about, I signed up for their marketing and it was the same thing, like, here's the community programs, here's solar power, here's the why you want to go this route if you fit these things and go this route if you fit these other things.
Yeah.
Okay. One little note. I think we want to like really promote solar and heat pump because those are the most influential actions. But we also don't want people like if they feel like they're not in the position to do them, we want them to make sure that like they can fall back on the smaller actions in the meantime. So I think like making sure we don't lose sight of those and that people can still like they still have the motivation to do those.
Still have that little that small checklist with all the smaller scope things.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Okay. Do you feel like we covered sustainable transportation? We jumped to that one first.
I think I was just looking for consensus on the supplemental content. I think having a link to Bus Bingo is great. Does the commission support having a how-to for community van? And if space, maybe we could have a how-to for Metroflex. Metroflex is a lot more kind of straightforward. You download an app, you follow the app instructions. Community van does require a little bit more explanation. I do think we kind of talked through some of those other options. Are folks in support of that?
I like the Metroplex idea. I don't know about community van. I remember it being popular years ago, but I can't think of anybody that uses it. Is there ridership?
There is decreasing ridership. I think with the addition of Metroflex, community van has become a little bit less popular because it's a more complicated system, but it does fill the need for some of our highest need residents, right? So there's ADA accessibility vans. It's really great for folks who might have large families visiting that don't have the capacity in their existing vehicles at home to take large groups. We've had a couple of school sports teams use it for events.
I didn't know any of that stuff.
Yeah.
So maybe that goes in the guide. I would just go rent a car. I mean, you could do that.
How to and why? Why would you?
Yeah, okay.
I think a lot of people don't know about community events, so good call to action could be like,
Anywhere?
did you know?
2 hours away from the city.
Yeah, please.
Yeah, hiking, hike play. The only thing you have to pay for is the same cost as a bus ride. So $3 for adults, free for youth under 18 and under. And then Metro covers tolls, gas, insurance. All you have to pay for is parking.
I had no idea about any
Yep.
of this.
So
I didn't know that.
Case in point, because we have been talking about and sharing this resource with people, and we don't even necessarily know everything about it.
Yeah.
So,
So that's one that I personally would really like to highlight.
Yeah.
That if the commission supports,
Yeah.
I think
I think that's-
this guide is like we have the information on the website, we have the flyers out front, and still I think
this is going to be a really good way for people to learn about it. That could probably be most of the supplemental content page.
I
And
agree.
the rest of it can just be some links to
It's
resources.
something catchy, like, need to haul your soccer team to a game or whatever, and that's eye-catching, like, oh, let me learn more about that.
and I know Metro has some great images of it. It might not be in Spanish, but I know they have some great images.
Want to visit
Well,
your
obviously
student,
it's not Spanish,
Yeah.
so.
Central
No.
Washington University?
Or we could even
Less than 2 hours.
do a photo shoot. We could all go to the community vans at the park and ride, and I could get a photo of you all taking. Maybe we should take that to Cedar Grove.
That's what I was about to say.
Yeah.
That's exactly what I was about to say. Is I think we could and or should take community van to get to Cedar Grove.
I think I'm so qualified as a driver. I might need to redo the training. It's been a couple of years.
Yeah,
but
that'd be great.
I think that both as a both as a
And it
photo.
would fit all of
Yeah,
us.
both as a photo op, I think that would be too late for this guy,
It would
but
be.
we could still go to the van to get the picture beforehand. But as a photo, maybe for next year, and also just as a, we're it's not walking the walk, we're driving the, I don't know.
And talking about alternative transportation, I'll walk to the community van.
Great.
How long is that walk for you?
About a mile and a half.
Okay, yeah, that's.
Further than the average Joe,
That's-
not too far to make it happen.
Okay.
Okay. Feeling good about the transportation page?
Yeah.
We'll circle back, great.
Yep.
So the map's gone?
I think we should do away with the map.
Yeah.
Well, I will get a PDF of it and put it
Yeah.
on the website, we can QR link to
Yeah.
it.
When you do that, the one hilarious thing that I recognize is the bus stops aren't on here. Like it's just blank bus line with three
Yeah.
dots, like I have to get on the bus here when I know that's not true, like it'd be nice to put
That's
stuff on there. Make it easier to like know where I can walk
Yeah.
to.
Yeah, that's true. We do want to highlight the actual.
I know there's two right outside my neighborhood, but
Yeah.
you never know from this thing.
Because Metro also, they have very good maps that they already put together a lot of this stuff, so.
Yeah, and Steve, I'll see if our GIS team can also add the chargers as well to that map. I think that's a good add.
And if you're putting it online, which I think is the right thing to do, you can also like layer these things. So you
Yeah,
can remove the busy
that-
stuff that you don't want to do. Like if you care about EV chargers,
If,
you can be
Yeah.
like,
I'll
give me
see
the EV charger.
if our website has the capacity to host something like that,
that's dynamic content.
but we could potentially have like a version that
Scroll
show,
down, yeah.
yeah, where it's like linked to bus routes, linked to, yeah,
Mhm.
I'll see.
One page roll down so you
Yeah,
don't have to link back and forth, back and forth, back and forth.
Yeah, and what it might be is I'll keep this basic map on the website and link to it, and then I can update that link. So if I don't get to it before the
Sure,
guide,
that's what-
we'll
yeah.
still be able to have it throughout the year.
excellent, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you all. One thing that would be helpful, if I could just get a brief check, just going back a page, maybe just raise of hands of folks who might be interested in the energy efficiency and power page, just so that I'm a little bit prepared going into our July meeting. You don't have to commit right now, but just so we can kind of start parsing this out.
I can do that.
Anyone else interested? Yeah, okay, you don't have to, again, not committing, just trying to get a general feel.
We're putting ourselves up for votes later for these pages, is that what it is? Or Steve and I
Discussion.
I think just discussion,
Got it, okay.
we'll work it out in July, just getting a general idea. Transportation, anyone feel strongly about transportation?
Accidentally got some stuff about that.
I could taste, I feel probably about the first few pages.
Yeah, I've been using it all the time, so.
Light rail counts, not so much.
Stephanie, I heard you're interested in transportation potentially as
Yes, I
well.
could talk about how I should stop commuting and the transition.
All right.
You could talk about what that transition looks like for you.
Yeah.
Thanks for that brief backtrack. We've
Wait,
got
there's more. There's
Oh.
more sections.
Yeah, no,
Yeah,
Oh.
I was saying thanks for that brief backtrack on buildings and energy and transportation. Natural resources. How do folks feel about maybe combining natural resources and water? That's
No.
something, no, keep it separate.
I want to do the
Okay.
water section.
I will also sign up for interest in this one.
Me too.
I will focus, I can do
Natural
I can
resources.
do the shrinking the lawn bit and do like, we don't have a lawn. We just have a forest in our
Love it.
backyard.
Yeah.
And the kids love it.
Mhm.
That, which I think is like a thing people get afraid of if your kids won't play in the
Well,
backyard.
actually, let me rephrase that, Rose. What I thought was lacking in the water conservation was a tie-in back to like habitat and stormwater and that's under natural resources.
That could be something that goes on the supplemental content page. It's like page for both of those sections is tie-ins between them. But I do think there's probably enough stuff that
There's a lot of crossover between natural resources and water conservation.
Yeah.
What would we title it? Natural resources, including, well, I
And
don't
water.
I think the way we had it titled on the sustainability ambassadors contract was natural systems and water resources.
I like that.
Yeah.
I like that.
I'll see with the graphic designer how this, I think it's fine to keep it separate, but if we wanted to combine it, it might give us more room for other supplemental.
And that could be a 2-page spread, and then we have a 2-page spread of supplemental content.
Yeah.
And I think images for that, I'd like to see an image of either wetlands, stormwater ponds, or water treatment, the water treatment system we have here on the plateau.
One sec.
A nice wetland to take a picture of is the Hazel Wolf.
You said wetlands.
Wetlands, stormwater
Stormwater.
ponds, or water treatment system.
That's the one next to Eagle Creek, right?
Pardon?
That's the one next to Eagle Creek.
No, it's over in Windsor Greens. It's,
I'd be happy to do a quote
Yeah.
for this one and see if I can find.
but it hooks up with
Picture
Beaver Lake
could work
Reserve.
somewhere.
Okay, yeah.
That reminds me, we didn't get photo suggestions for energy or transportation. I mean, I think those are a little bit, right, Steve next to his heat pump, someone riding a bike. Any other strong images?
Then we talk about the solar panels on
Solar panels?
Pine Lake Middle School.
Yep.
Yeah.
As part of the energy one as well.
We could have Christy with her bike going to different events.
Did you say natural systems and water resources? Okay.
Under
Or natural resources and water systems.
on your natural resources page under yards and gardens, your second bullet says use natural pest control. I would add natural weed and pest control.
That was actually something
People have more problems with weeds than they have with pests.
that was actually something I got feedback on from this guy, from this guy, and just something to potentially note is I don't think we can tell people like don't use specific like pesticides or herbicide type things, but definitely encouraging people to use natural remedies that don't have lots of harmful effects on their environment. I'm not
Including pets.
Yeah, I'm not naming specific brands, but because I don't think we could in this, but they exist and they shouldn't be used, especially residentially.
Yeah, some of this is kept intentionally vague
Yep.
because we cannot endorse or yeah,
So
both ends of that. We want
Yeah.
to stay away
So
from
you
naming names.
You don't want to tell them to use vinegar to kill their weeds.
You can say vinegar, but I can't say like whatever brand vinegar.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or we can't say like don't use such and such brand of pesticide or
There's a lot of litigation right now.
Yeah.
Herbicides, pesticides.
Yeah, so like we can't say specific, but I definitely encouraging people to use natural remedies for dealing with things, or even like something I came across recently, especially like if people have like a home garden and they're dealing with pests in their garden. There are a lot of situations where they could use companion plants that will attract those pests away from their crops. Like that can be very effective in a lot of situations.
Okay.
So can we? When I read that, use natural pest control. I know what natural pest control is because I practice it. I've got a big garden, but a lot of people don't.
Yeah, thank you.
And they would probably read that and say, okay, what's natural?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that'd be helpful to have a QR
That's
code.
definitely something where we want to, that some of that could be supplemental content, how to, some of that could be linked.
Can you send them to King Conservation District with a QR code? Do they have?
Yeah, in past years, we've linked to a couple different, so King County has their Northwest Yard and Garden page, there's Washington Park. So there are links, but we could be a little bit more direct about
All
it.
right.
For supplemental content, what are we feeling?
I do like the idea of like spotlighting or highlighting like volunteer work that is being done.
I saw your comment
Yeah,
on that.
and whether that's stuff at the gardens or whether that's restoration projects, I think letting people know, and that could also be a good how-to, like the barrier to entry for these volunteer opportunities is incredibly low, and there are quite a few of them. And that can be, even if it's not something that you're committing to doing on a regular basis, it could just be a one-off thing. But that can be a very good way for people to engage with the activity, learn more about what is in the city. Like if they go to some of the parks, they can learn what those parks look like if they wouldn't go and do that normally. Like I had never been to Big Rock before I started volunteering there, and now I've been there a couple times just because it's a nice place to go walk around. And that can be just letting people know how low that barrier to entry is for volunteering would be good.
Great.
Yeah.
Thinking about the water systems part of it, and I don't know if it goes under yards and gardens, but
Maybe do that on the next page, unless there was consensus to combine natural resources and
I
water.
thought we were combining it.
No strong opinion either way.
I'm neutral on that. I don't care.
Okay, cool. Sorry, continue.
Well, no, my point is that awareness about household chemicals and the fact that they can get into the water supply. So like, you know, washing your car in your driveway, changing your oil, pesticides, herbicides. I don't see a connection here between like household chemicals and drinking water.
Okay.
You want to have a list of nastiness?
No,
I think that might be a little bit hard to do
Yeah.
with the limited text, but I think if for the commissioner quote, that's a really great opportunity to highlight
Yeah.
where it maybe doesn't fit as neatly into some of these other categories, but it's super relevant
That's a
and
good
something
idea.
that you personally feel strong
yeah.
about. So however you'd like to phrase that, we can work. Stephanie, go ahead.
Oh yeah, thank you, Rose. On the combining the water with natural resources, I think I would be on board, but my only concern would be the actions for each do feel pretty distinct to me. Like the natural resources are definitely more like hands-on, like getting out in nature and like planting and doing that. And then the water is like church showers and like kind of things that you can do to save water in the home. So I see that distinction a little bit.
I think that's a good point. Is it, we are limited by the page or,
We have 12 pages to work with. Yeah.
okay,
We bumped it from 8 to 12.
Okay.
Any more than that is a pretty significant budget consideration and also mailing. So the costs go up.
okay.
And then also, I think 12 pages is already kind of a lot to ask of people
That's a
to
lot,
read.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But we can get creative with the formatting, right? We're
So
really trying to cut back.
if
the
it
text.
comes to that point, let's combine, but otherwise, you know, it will be good to have, because even though water is a natural resource, but it's slightly different than the rest, because the rest of the ecosystem has, you know, a lot of things that you said that will not be the bullet points will not be the same, will be different.
I do like the idea of maybe keeping it separate as well, because it does give the opportunity for more commissioners to have the blurb opportunity. But I think if we get to the second draft and decide to go in a different direction, we do have enough time in the review process to shift.
Okay, well, I'll take a look. I mean, there may be water aspects and natural resources that we move into the other section.
My thought if we do end up combining them is we could probably do that as a 2-page, still have that combined section as a 2-page spread. And that still gives us enough that like it'll effectively cut down 1 page because we won't like, but it'll let us still have multiple sections, like multiple quotes, multiple bits and like checklists and like
I see what you're saying.
and then the next
Like-
like on that next
Like this, I mean, it already is sort of tied
like
up.
how,
Yeah,
like that, but as a more intentionally designed 2-page spread as opposed to 2 things on the same spread. So if we do want to go with that direction of combine.
yeah.
But I think that's probably something we can talk about more next meeting.
Yeah. Okay.
For the sake of time, making sure we get through this whole thing.
Thank you all. So I think I have a clear, so for natural resources, for the supplemental content, I'm hearing some kind of volunteer event, spotlight, hands-on. Yes, or do we want to focus more on the natural pests, how to? Maybe we can fit both.
I think we could probably
We can try both. Let's do both.
because I think two items on a supplemental page is like a good limit for that.
Yeah.
I have one more idea for the supplemental
Yeah.
page. You know, it's hard to squish them in, but I think one of the high priority actions is definitely like planting native and converting lawn space, because lawn space I think is like pretty
Yes.
ecologically useless. And once you start planting natives, then you see like insects and birds and like so much biodiversity. So I think it would be really cool if we had some examples or like personal testimonies from people who have rewilded their lawn, like in Sammamish, like we could have like 1 or 2 like just examples of what that has looked like for people, and I think that would be
And were they able to sell their house?
I think that could be
I know,
again
I bet.
a good. I think that could be again a good opportunity for
Yeah.
a commissioner
So
spotlight.
that's what I was thinking. Is
Yeah.
I think arguably lawns and that sort of thing is the primary thing for natural resources. So that's probably main page for that. And then we could just have like some of the pictures that we have like on the pages wherever those pictures end up. Those could be either just pictures of those new lawns, or if someone has a before and after picture, that could be really
Oh,
cool.
that would be good.
I just want to be mindful of time. We got about
Yes.
5 minutes left in the meeting. I want to make sure everyone has a chance to give their feedback.
But we got more.
Yes. So I think we're good with natural resources. I think I've heard the water,
Mhm.
kind of combining that with natural resources. I'm gonna move past the water for now, because I don't know that we'll have space for as much. I think we're gonna try to workshop that. For waste reduction, I've really heard clearly from a couple of you that we want really how to recycle, and I'll work with Republic. If folks support that, I think that's a really good direction to take this, is a clear do's and don'ts, or a
Mhm.
clear, how to steps to follow to eliminate something going in the garbage versus the recycling. If we have other ideas, please provide
Well,
that in written
The
feedback.
other aspect is you can tell them how to recycle, but they've got to buy the right stuff that's
Mhm.
recyclable.
Sounds like Steve might want to do a quote on this one
Green
too.
purchasing.
Hmm?
Green purchasing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So if you're,
Reduce.
no,
Isn't
like
I get the focus on recycling, but that's like the last step. You should be doing the other things. first.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Just not buying things.
Yeah.
Then you don't have to throw them
Be a
away.
responsible consumer.
Yeah.
First step, buy less.
Don't buy things.
Second step,
Buy
when you
smart.
are buying, consider these things.
Yeah.
Third step, sort correctly.
Yeah.
Yep.
I'll
Yeah.
workshop that.
Okay.
Okay. Anyone else
Says the guy who works for.
interested in being maybe the go-to for waste reduction? I know Christy had done this, Stephanie. Okay, perfect.
I think like under the water section, I read something about like potentially like a water knowledge quiz or something for the solid waste. I think there's sometimes a quiz about like what goes where, or maybe we could have like an overall quiz or something. Or I'm just thinking like just different ways to make it more engaging. Like we could have places where people can draw something, or like I don't know, just something.
I'm working on a green remediation plan for the EPA. I'll see if I can pull some info that might help with our guide. See if I can find anything.
Great. Yeah. And as you're sending this feedback back, if any of you want to have kind of ad hoc meetings to discuss, I can absolutely find time. We can kind of workshop this and make sure that this next draft I'm bringing forward is really what you're envisioning. Okay.
Some of the stuff that I've written up, I'll send to you to like be spread out with the commission so that we can just share those thoughts.
Yeah. I think something we could look at too is maybe I'll do mini ad hoc groups of like, I'll meet with two of you who are interested in the same thing to kind of workshop, but we can discuss that in July, and that can be part of the final review process.
Like over coffee at that market.
Yeah.
Okay.
For the conclusion, I think we'll leave that for July. I think keeping a general quote and additional resources has been pretty consistent year over year. Yeah, and then again, please send me that written feedback. It doesn't necessarily have to be a marked up document. It could also just be your high level feedback or specific sections.
Yep. And the additional to what we discussed in the room today, right? You don't
Yeah.
want repeats of that.
Yeah, I've got the comments. If as you're going through, you do want to just include those, it doesn't hurt to say it twice.
It's
But
recorded as
Yeah.
well. Right? Yeah.
exactly. With our last couple of minutes, I know we're really close on time here. If we need to extend just a couple minutes, we can. I already updated you on the green power goal. I wanted to give you a quick update on the building decarbonization that went to council on June 2nd. Council ultimately directed staff to return with additional information and options related to the budget, especially the budget implications on the next budget cycle for the biennium. And they wanted to understand how this ties into the fleet electrification study timeline with capital improvement projects. So they did not make a formal decision. They requested some more information. So staff and consultant will be working on that.
They were also, all of them, I think, agreed that this going ahead with solar was on the solar panels on the roof was a good idea. Yeah.
Yeah. So it seemed like ultimately there was some support, but they just wanted a little bit more information before they could make that formal endorsement. So,
And we're 80% of our funders.
and we're 80% of our signups for green power. We're not doing the 4th of July. I will connect with you all later in July on a sustainable Sammamish market activity. That's something we've been thinking about. And if you have issues with your iPad, please let me know. As you are reviewing the guide, please refrain from running any of this through AI. I had mentioned this to some of you individually, but we do have an AI policy internally at the city, and we are working to get that external facing to council and commissioners. So at our next meeting, there will be an AI policy for you all to sign, as well as a brief presentation on the do's and don'ts with city government. There are a lot of public records implications as kind of the why, just to make sure that we're documenting correctly and not feeding AI proprietary city information.
This is the AI I'm gonna use.
There you go. We are
Natural
at
intelligence.
time.
Yeah.
Is this something that can?
I think I can say for next, because I do want to talk about STEM's town hall, but I can do that next week.
Yes. Yeah, let's do that next time.
And next Wednesday is a tabling.
Yes, and next Wednesday is the farmers market.
Hmm.
And
Worst.
Is next Wednesday?
From a
when we have
scheduling
a
standpoint,
sustainability-
these are the worst.
yes, yeah. I mean, I'll be at all of that. So if folks want to come by.
Well,
And you have
so
done,
much
put
is
that
it.
in the schedule.
Yeah.
Thank you for sending the invite. That is helpful for me.
Yeah.
I will
It is in the calendar.
I will make it to those when I can.
And
Correct.
then
I'll be
also I saw the recycling event is also in the calendar. That's good.
Yes.
I think that's good.
Great.
I should be here next Wednesday. Nobody, everybody's graduated.
Okay, great.
I'm out of town.
No worries.
And
I
I'm
moved-
probably not, what's that?
Adjourn.
Oh, yes. Can we have a motion to adjourn the
I
meeting?
moved to adjourn.
Second.
All right, all in favor of adjourning tonight's meeting? Say aye. Anybody opposed? Okay. Meeting adjourned.
I will be missing.
Fun stuff.